Hello and welcome to this new video. Today, I'm bringing you a classic story full of magic, mystery, and of course, a beautiful ending full of love. Get ready to enjoy the tale of Sleeping Beauty. I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed telling it. Sleeping Beauty. Once upon a time, in a distant kingdom, there lived a king and a queen who, after many years of waiting and longing, were finally blessed with the birth of a daughter. This was a much-awaited and desired gift, and the entire kingdom celebrated the arrival of the little princess with great joy. Her parents, overwhelmed with love and happiness, decided to host a grand feast in honor of the newborn, inviting all the magical beings from their realm to bestow their blessings and special gifts upon the child. In those days, fairies were powerful and revered beings, and the king wanted to ensure that all, absolutely all, of them would come and give something unique to his little princess. Invitations were sent to the kindest fairies, but, through either carelessness or ignorance, they forgot to invite one of the most feared fairies in the kingdom, who lived in a secluded corner of the castle, far from the celebrations of the royal court. This fairy was known for her malice and resentment, and had never been welcomed at court. On the day of the grand celebration, all eyes were on the newborn princess, who lay radiant in her golden cradle. The fairies, enchanted by her beauty, began to offer their gifts. One fairy granted her the ability to sing with a voice so beautiful that everyone who heard it would be deeply moved. Another fairy gave her the grace and skill to dance like a true artist. And there was a fairy who, with a gentle smile, offered her the gift of wisdom, ensuring that the princess would be intelligent and able to solve any problem with her brilliant mind. But just as it seemed everything was perfect, the evil fairy, uninvited and scorned, entered the hall with a dark and mysterious aura. No one had invited her, and her presence sent a shiver through the air. Everyone fell silent, afraid of what she might do. With a cruel smile, the evil fairy approached the princess's cradle, and with disdain, she spoke loudly. "When this princess turns 15, she will prick her finger on a spindle and fall into a deep sleep that will last forever, unless a true prince awakens her with a kiss." The evil fairy's words echoed through the castle. No one dared to speak, and a heavy silence fell. The queen, terrified, tried to speak, but the evil fairy had already said her piece. With a cold and satisfied laugh, she disappeared as quickly as she had come, leaving behind a cloud of sorrow in the hall. The king, determined to protect his daughter, ordered all the spindles in the kingdom to be destroyed, making sure not a single one remained. Extreme measures were taken to ensure that the curse would not come to pass, but the princess's fate had already been sealed. Despite all the efforts to avoid disaster, time passed quickly, and the princess grew up healthy, beautiful, and happy, surrounded by the love of her parents and the protection of the good fairies. 15 years passed, and the princess, now a young woman full of life and beauty, lived without worrying about the curse that the evil fairy had cast upon her. One day, while wandering through the castle, the princess stumbled upon a room she had never seen before. Inside, she found an old woman spinning at a wheel, completely absorbed in her work. The old woman paid no attention to her, and as though waiting for the princess to arrive, invited her to sit down and try spinning. "What is this?" the princess asked, curious. "It's a spindle, my dear. Have you never seen one before?" The old woman answered, smiling kindly. Though the princess had heard many times about the spindles and how they had all been destroyed, she had never actually seen one. Driven by curiosity, she took the spindle in her hands, and at that very moment, the inevitable happened. She pricked her finger. A sharp pain coursed through her, and in an instant, a deep magical sleep took over her. The entire kingdom trembled in horror when they saw the princess fall into an eternal sleep. In that very moment, everyone in the castle, from the king and queen to the humblest servant, also fell into a deep slumber. The curse of the evil fairy had come to pass. The king and queen, heartbroken, withdrew to their palace, where they spent their days mourning their daughter. The castle was covered with a thick blanket of silence and forgotten memories, while plants grew uncontrollably and the walls were overrun with thorny vines. The story of the sleeping princess became a legend, and many in the kingdom stopped speaking of her as though she had never existed. However, the rumor of the sleeping princess in her tower reached the ears of a prince from a distant land. This prince, who had heard of the princess's beauty and the mystery surrounding her, decided to embark on a dangerous quest to find her. The story spoke of a tower surrounded by thorns as tall as trees, impenetrable to anyone who tried to approach. But the prince did not give up. His heart was filled with courage and hope. When he arrived at the castle, he faced the thorns, which seemed to come alive to stop him. Yet the prince was undeterred. He fought bravely, cutting through the thorns one by one until he reached the tower where the princess lay asleep. There he saw her resting peacefully on her bed, as beautiful and serene as he had imagined. Her eyes, closed in deep sleep, seemed to be waiting for something. The prince, with his heart pounding, approached her, leaned in, and gently kissed her lips. In that moment, as if by magic, the princess's eyes opened. Her long slumber had ended, and the young woman awoke with a smile, as though she had been waiting for that kiss all along. The tower, once shrouded in darkness and silence, began to fill with light. The entire kingdom awoke, and the enchantment that had haunted the people lifted. The princess and the prince looked into each other's eyes, and without needing words, they both knew they were destined to be together. They married in a joyous ceremony, and with their union, the kingdom flourished once again. They lived a life full of love and happiness, and so the story of Sleeping Beauty came to an end, with the princess finally finding her peace and happiness, overcoming the curse through the power of true love. Moral: true love has the power to overcome even the greatest obstacles, and it will always find a way to break any curse, no matter how powerful it may be. And that's the end of the story of Sleeping Beauty. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you love this tale, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for more magical stories. See you in the next video.